Carmel Cipollone.
Mr. Chair, thank you for allowing me to take a call. I'm really interested in Clause 6 and the extension that is put in here from 16 weeks to 22 weeks and then on to 26 weeks paid parental leave. And I really would like to know from the member what advice she's received about the financial implications of these changes. I know that the member had been discussing with the government the fact that although her preference was to continue offering 26 paid parental leave to all new parents, that this was almost like a compromise given the government felt that it was unaffordable despite the member's own costings saying that wasn't the case. So what I'm interested in is the costings that the member has come up with, and I'd like to see whether in fact they would be affordable for any government to be able to take on at this point. I was interested in the Families Commission submission to this bill as well, and that stated that in 2009, when the effects of the financial crisis were most evident, that 8 countries made changes to increase financial benefits for parental leave, and actually one of those changes was actually in one of those countries was for multiple births. So they actually increased in 8 countries the financial arrangements they had for paid parental leave, and found that actually it was the fiscally responsible thing to do, and actually it really helped during an economic crisis in terms of the benefits that came from it. So I'd really like to know from the member whether or not she received any advice on that, and whether actually she knows who those 8 countries were that extended their paid parental leave provisions and how it actually helped them during difficult economic times. I think that would be something good for this government to take on board, despite the fact I hear from the member, and I've heard from the member, that the compromise that's been made here in terms of changing the requirements from being for all new parents and new births to being those that are multiple births, those that are children with disabilities, and those that are premature births. I'd really like to know the financial implications. I'd really also like to know from the member what the long-term savings will be. So there is some research out there, particularly in relation to premature births, particularly in relation to multiple births, and then children with disability, about the increased importance of breastfeeding for that first 6 months exclusively. I think I've seen some pretty serious statistics that outline those babies who are not exclusively breastfed in that first 6 months are 14 times more likely to die than those that are. Which is a pretty serious statistic. I think that one came from UNICEF, so I'd be interested to know from the member if she had further information along those lines, because I think this Parliament should take that kind of information quite seriously. The benefits to premature babies, to babies who are born as part of multiple births, and I know that babies that are multiple birth babies are more likely to be of a lower weight when born, so there are risks there. And what are the benefits to 6 months exclusive breastfeeding that member has come across? Mr. Chair, I'm also really interested in a submission to this bill in relation to what we're discussing in this clause that was put forward by the Children's Commissioner, which pointed out that the current rate of paid parental leave is the same rate whether there is 1 or more children born, so whether it's a single birth or a multiple birth. And the Children's Commissioner actually put forward in their submission that disadvantaged parents of multiple birth babies. I'm not sure if I'm phrasing it quite right. So I know that point made in the submission by the Children's Commissioner is slightly different to what's in the clause, but it does touch on the issue of multiple births and how there needs to be some different arrangements made to take into consideration the additional pressures that are on the parents of that give birth to more than one baby at one time. Mr. Chair, I'm really interested in the long-term costings or savings that could be made around the, with respect to health of these children, Mr Chair? Mr Chair?
No, before I call the next member, I just want to ask people to take their seats and then to indicate that what we're discussing at the moment is a very narrow matter. It's quite marginal as to whether it should have been ruled in or out, given the fact that the earlier substantive clauses have in fact been rejected by the House. And so I ask members who are going to speak to the clauses on the two SOPs that we are currently referring to and not submissions on other matters. Jan Logie.
Chair, thank you.